Yes. Everyone's always so afraid.
Yeah, sit far.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
I feel it. I actually feel oddly calm.
Hard part's over. All you have to do is talk about it. Right.
I'm gonna turn the music off.
Oh, yeah. Good idea. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and start. If you have a family seat, come on in. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming. This is so awesome to see a community come out like this for Emily. This is really cool to see everyone here. Before we get started, I just want to start with a quick land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territory of the Washoe people. It is important to understand the long-standing history that has brought us to reside on this land. And as a community, it is so important to protect and honor this history of this people and this place. And then after that, I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping, and I want to remind you that we have another exhibition at the Tahoe Gallery called Flux. It is an alumni and faculty exhibition. We will be having that opening next Wednesday, same time, only at the Tahoe Gallery on the third floor of the Kern Library. Instead of an artist talk, we're going to do a panel. I will be the moderator, and this is a really good chance to listen to some of our alumni talk about how they've gotten to where they are, and you can ask questions as well. So come over to that. We're happy to have everyone. So now on to Emily. Emily grew up in the mountains of New Hampshire. She spends her time exploring the natural world, and her work is really interdisciplinary. It's framed by experience, and it's just been a real. I was putting treat and pleasure together. A pleasure and a treat to see this exhibition come together and work with you this semester. We're all really proud of you. And then with that, I'm going to open it up to Emily. Let's give her a hand.
Okay. Wow. Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay, cool. So thanks everyone for coming out. I'm really proud of this work, and it's really cool that you're all here to share that with me. So thanks for being here. All right, we're gonna jump right into it. Wait for my heart rate to settle. Okay.
Oh, that was fast.
Okay, so I've always been someone who has felt deeply connected to nature. Even from a young age, that's what I did, is I went outside. Thankfully, I didn't grow up in the heat of the technological era, so to entertain myself, I had to go outside and play. And I think that that's translated into me being an adult and being connected to the outdoors. And as I grew up and got older and got more experience in the outdoors, I got into like recreational activities like hiking and skiing, which led me to begin my journey here at SNU because those things were here. And I could also go to school, so I thought that was really awesome. And I entered into the ODAL program, and I started going on these trips that were just absolutely amazing. And I was like meeting people who were friends that turned into family, and I was having all these like personal revelations about life and kind of learning how to understand the weight of these experiences. And as I was going on these amazing trips, I was faced with a dilemma. And this is kind of where the inspiration from my artwork comes from. The ODAL curriculum places a huge emphasis on reflection, so I was consistently being asked to reflect about the experience, write about the way I felt, write about the way that the landscape made me feel. And kind of in doing that, being asked to reflect on what had just happened led me to the realization that I was no longer just an outdoor recreator and that something greater was going on in my mind. My mind was expanding, my thought process was changing, and essentially the way I saw the world was changing. And it was really hard to have these amazing experiences knowing that they were ephemeral and that I would never be in these places with the same people at the same time, with the same weather, with the same wind, with the same sun, and that weighed really heavily on me. So that's where the inspiration for my work comes from, is kind of dealing with the weight of an experience that's temporary. So at this time, when I came to SNU, I was here to be an environmental scientist. And then I went to an art class here, and that kind of changed everything. I was taking one of Rick's classes, and we were sitting in this room, actually, and I learned about this man. This is Joseph Beuys. He's a German conceptual artist. And kind of, hang on, let me figure out where I'm at. Prior to this whole me being an art class situation, I really believed that art was like this unattainable thing for me. I can't really draw or paint, still can't. And so I assumed that this was a thing that wasn't for me. And until I started learning about other kinds of art and other artists, I realized that that's not what art's about. And I realized that all these deep thoughts and these questions and like the really strong emotion I was feeling after these experiences in the outdoors, that was the art. And that I could translate that and share it with other people. So my whole mindset changed in a matter of one class period, which is super amazing. This particular piece is Beuys carrying around the carcass of a dead hare, explaining to the dead hare human objects. He would have the hare like touch the objects, and it's not pretty. It actually looks quite scary, these photos, I'm realizing right now. But it's also beautiful, and it's, I don't know, it's just really eye-opening for me to see this kind of thing. Joseph Beuys encourages people to go beyond logical thought process and kind of challenge what makes art art. And one of the things he says in the interview after this piece, he says that art is there to sustain the organization of human sensory perception and demands creative potential. I really like that sentence because when I'm in the outdoors, which is my inspiration for creating, all my senses are activated at one time. Like when I'm on the river, I can hear the river, I can smell the plants. I can, see the ridiculously amazing landscape in front of me. I can feel the water underneath my feet. It's like all my senses are heightened at one time, which I think creates that vivid memory in my head that I can't, that's hard for me to process the fact that that's an ephemeral feeling. Yeah. So with I already said that. By putting myself in that overwhelming sensory environment, I'm essentially allowing the artwork to create itself, because it's happening inside my brain and I'm just overwhelmed with emotion. And that whole thing leads me to have the desire to create and memorialize these experiences that are temporary. So after this whole revelation, I started to question, well, what the heck was going on in my brain when I was having these experiences, and having inexpressible gratitude, I guess, not being able to understand how I was so privileged or lucky to feel the way I felt in these places. And so that kind of led me to this new idea that I recently came upon, the idea of the sublime. So for centuries, philosophers have been trying to define the sublime. What is the sublime experience? What makes something sublime? And there's a million different definitions, but the one that I really resonated with is from Edmund Burke, who's that handsome-looking dude over there on the right. He wrote this piece on the sublime, and like I said, there's a million different definitions, but I feel like this one is really pertinent to my work, so I'm going to read you something that handsome man wrote. So Burke says that the passion caused by the great sublime in nature, when those causes operate most powerfully, is astonishment. And astonishment is that state of the soul which all its motions are suspended, with some degree of horror. No passion so effectually robs the mind of all its powers of acting and reasoning as fear. For fear, being an apprehension of pain or death, operates in a manner that resembles actual pain. Whatever therefore is terrible with regard to sight is sublime too. Indeed, terror is in all cases whatsoever, either more openly or latently, the ruling principle of the sublime. And so I really like what Burke says here, and he's interested in what happens to a person when their survival is endangered. And some of other definitions of the sublime focus on objects, but he really focuses on the experience of the beholder, which is what I deal with, is holding these experiences in my little brain. And this specific definition of the sublime, I think, is really cool and pertains to my artwork, because it's described as kind of two characteristics. You have this fear for your life, that your life is in danger, and you have this majestic, incomprehensible view of the natural world at the same time. And so some painters in the past have been trying to depict the sublime, and there's old journals of sailors who would be way out in the ocean and have these massive storms come, and they genuinely felt like their life was in danger. But at the same time, they were just awestruck by the power of the natural world, and those two things combined, fear for life and this majestic view put together, they describe as the sublime experience, which I think translates into my work, as I do a lot of things outside that people would deem dangerous. Like when I get on the river, every time you get on the river, you're putting your life at risk, but at the same time, you're staring at these amazing canyon walls and the way the river flows. So it's knowing that you're a human, but also just having this amazing thing to look at together. I just came upon this idea recently, but I think it's really helped me to understand my work. which we're going to talk about specifically right now. Okay. I'm actually way less nervous than I thought I was going to be. This is great. So, through a very intentional reflective practice, I've created the pieces that encompass the show. My materials are specific. The dirt that you see being used are from specific places that are very vivid in my head. And when gathering materials for this show, I was forced to return to, not forced, that's the wrong word. Anyways, I had to return to these places to gather the materials, and even just being in that place kind of evokes that emotion immediately, just being there. So for example, this piece, the dirt you see here is from where I lived last summer. I spent my summer on the river, and it was the most mentally challenging and physically challenging thing I've ever done. And yeah, I wanted to address that, and obviously it's abstracted. But one second. But I'm not interested in somebody looking at it and being like, oh, Emily was a raft guide and had a super tough time. That's not my idea. It's the feeling I'm trying to convey, because to be honest, I still don't know how to put it into words, and that's the point. Kind of to explore the gap in my understanding of what it means to be like alive and exist and have these crazy experiences happen and go through these like personal revelations that really can't happen in the front country, that only the wilderness provides a setting for. And these pieces, they're not literal representations of my experience. They're expressions of myself to try and understand the weight of these experiences. So this one, I love this one. So by putting dirt up on a pedestal like this on the wall, like you would like a piece of art, it's a seemingly insignificant material, but putting it up there on the wall gives it the importance that it holds to me. Specificity of place is one of the biggest catalysts for my reflective practice, so it deserves this kind of importance that I've given it. And this one specifically makes me think of like the eons of time that go by in the Earth's history, and I'm very aware of the fact that in 20 million years, this dirt could be, or this place I got the dirt from could be under a lake, or it could be getting sucked into the core of the Earth and traveling thousands of miles on a tectonic plate, which I think is really awesome. But at one moment in time, I was here, and I lived in this dirt, and that's why it's so important. So some of the other pieces that aren't as dirty. That'll go away, right? Oh, maybe it won't. Okay. Let's just give it. Yeah. So, the backpack you see here, I really like using my own personal objects in my artwork. And the backpack is a representation of myself, as it carries the tools I use, but at the same time, I carry the weight of that backpack. And along with that, the weight of the whole experience is reflected through the backpack. As I hike or as I move through the forest, the backpack is deteriorating, but also so have I. And I feel like it's a direct reflection of not only the physical thing that's happening when I'm out there, but the kind of how I'm changing mentally too. Yeah. The photos you see here that I've chosen to incorporate kind of poke again at my understanding of the sublime. Being on the river is indeed a threat to my life, but at the same time, the beauty in the sheer vastness of it kind of leaves me speechless. So those two emotions working together lead to a really heightened sense of awareness that I carry through the whole experience. And even anytime I'm outside, I feel like, yeah, everything is heightened. And I can really, I don't know, get into the act of living and existing. It's freaking awesome. But so the picture on the left, right here, you got a big old wave, some big mountains, and it's scary. And it makes you feel small and realize how fragile it is to be a human being. And then the picture next to it is that feeling of just indescribable gratitude or just being awestruck. The fact that this place exists, that the earth exists, and we get to move around on it. Yeah. So those two things working together to create the sublime experience. And then these guys are kind of pulling from my past work. I wanted to incorporate the items that I bring with me when I go on these experiences because I think that they reflect just how intentional I am when I'm outside. Notebooks, journals, old letters, photos. They just hold a lot of importance to me. And when I think about a memory or think about a time and I begin to feel like that dread of the fact that I know that'll never happen again, I can kind of like grab these things and hold on to them, and so I can remember that like that experience is real and it doesn't just exist in my head, and those things really did happen. The tarp you see over there, I really like that one. It really just symbolizes for me like shelter and kind of the alternate world I live in when I don't live in this world that we're all existing in right now. Yeah, it's not pretty, but it's not supposed to be. And I hope it made you think. So overall, the opportunity to combine my two disciplines, outdoor adventure leadership and art, has helped me understand who I am as a person and helped me decipher my emotions in an artistic way so I can share it with other people. And the mentors and the teachers I've had to help me through this process literally changed the way I think about the world and changed the way I see the world and genuinely made me a better person. Yeah, so I'm really thankful for that. That's it.
All right, at this point now we're going to open it up for some questions.
Hey, no question here, just a comment. You didn't have to go back for that dirt, you got to. Change all those have tos to get tos, and you'll see life through a whole new lens.
Thanks, Clyde.
I have a comment. I'm a little emotional too. Thank you, Emily. That was beautiful. I just watched, and this pertains, I just watched Drawn from Here by Eric Pollard. Has anyone seen that video? It's a really good snowboard ski video. But he says, someone in the video says, doing a daring thing with style is an art. And I just like who you are. Because last night I listened to you talk about how you can't swim, and that's why you did this daring thing of being a whitewater rock guide, and you're gonna forever be a rock guide now.
Yeah.
And today I listened to you say, I couldn't draw or paint, so I'm gonna be an artist.
I'd say when I'm like in the thick of the experience, when it's actually happening, um, like certain things come together, like the setting, the weather, the people I'm with, and there's like a thing that clicks in my brain that's like, okay, Emily, you're living right now, and this is insane. So there's like a moment in my brain when I realize that's happening, and then the act of like deciding to create the artwork is driven from the fact that I can't sit with the emotion of the fact that that was a temporary experience. So actually creating the artwork is a pretty emotional process as well, because it's something that already happened that I'm never going to get back. And then like seeing it in the gallery, like up right now, it feels like I do the memory justice by memorializing it. My ear won't pop. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Yeah, I'd say the whole process helps me deepen my understanding of why I feel the way I do about these experiences, and helps me feel less crazy about it. Like I'm on this emotional roller coaster, and yeah, makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that it's temporary. Does that answer your question? Cool. What?
You said that when you're in the moment, you have all of your sensations or your senses, right?
Yes.
After you come back and you create that, you say like you're writing, when you're reading that, you feel that you can connect back to your senses.
Yeah. I think that's the whole reason I do it, is to remember the way I felt in the moment. Because in the moment when I'm feeling it, I'm like, oh shit, eventually this is over. And so like going through and creating is helpful to remember why I felt the way I did.
I like your stuff because it makes me feel like I was there.
Oh, thanks.
So, if and not that pain is a bad thing, if pain involved in kind of recognizing thinking on your level, and you feel like there's a need to sort of memorialize it, why not just let it go?
Because because I can't. I don't know, I'm a super emotional person in general, and pairing that with indescribable moments of bliss, or the sublime, I can't let it go. Because it's too important to me, to understanding my motivations and the things that I hold dear in this life. They're not things, that's for sure. It's moments. Yeah. Nikki?
I feel like there's definitely a bittersweetness to that, but there's also like an excitement of like collecting those past things, and like maybe you're not releasing them per se, but like collecting them is like kind of your truth in knowing that you're gonna have more of those in the future too.
I would say it's like collecting them is like a way of, like, I have collections from different trips, and knowing that I can hold on to those things is like, okay, like this exact thing won't happen again, but you will have this experience again for sure. Mhm. Time.
Do you feel like participants in a places that feel, or you were places that feel, and then the phase of being change your perspective?
I feel like a participant in the places I go, but only intentionally. Like I'm intentionally choosing to participate in this environment. It's definitely not a passive thing. In the creation process, it does change my perception because I feel like I can let go a little bit and not have so much anxiety over the fact that it's over. So I think it's comforting to create, for sure.
Art play.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to allow yourself to place a target on a pedestal is huge. Thousands and thousands of years. And saying this thing has relevance. And that relevance is packed in a metaphor. Can you dive a little deeper into the metaphor around that object?
Sure. Oh man, you would. um, so the tarp, for me, like I said, is like a symbol of shelter, and putting it just on the pedestal, folded up all janky like that. You know, I'm not really sure what the metaphor is.
Well, one is shelter.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that these classes, hold the power that it does, that it can shelter people.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Boyes is the example. Love Pages. That is a metaphor for life, opportunity, shelter, comfort,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful place. I think you understand what the object means. I think some of us will have to go home tonight and they'll probably be the piece that they started with most in that space because they know what it looks like. They know what journey it is. They know what dirt on a shelf looks like art. Must be art. But the awning structure, that tarp is something a lot more powerful than perceived at first glance. And I think that's something that as you move forward, I think you have lots of opportunities to move into a master's program, the way you're thinking, particularly looking at the sublime. Joseph Boyes is very broad. And the way you're thinking is throwing me MFA in crowd. Now, you always get the rap. Outside, you get to do all those things, and you can make work about that while you're in grad school.
Oh, that's where that was going.
The master's program that you pick should be in a very specific. So I have about 10 schools.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Rick. Kimberly?
So, what he was saying about that, I see the tarp in you. I see home. Like you can move that tarp anywhere. And that can be your shelter anywhere. You find home in any of the outdoor nature that you see. Even talking about living in the tent.
Mm-hmm. You got that right. Katie, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I had the honor of working with you this semester and listening to you and helping you identify the theme of the weight. But it's so amazing for me to see that then work through all of your pieces. But another idea that you were really working in that you have touched on, but I'd love to share more about, is this idea of the reflection and mirror that you use and the knowledge of self that you've been building through this whole process. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I like to reflect on mostly everything. Because I think when you remove yourself from the situation and think about it later on, sometimes it paints a clearer picture. And through intentional reflection, I've been able to see myself and who I am. And I feel like that's how I would phrase it. I feel like I see myself as myself, and I know who I am and what I stand for. And I only got there through the practice of intentionally reflecting on how I felt and my emotions. I think it's helped me become me. Essentially, yeah. What's up, Clyde?
So, Emily, do you journal these thoughts? Like when you come up with these art pieces, do you take any time to journal? Even if it's just an outline of your sketch of your thoughts, and reflect back on that later?
Yeah, when I went to create the talk for this show, I sat in the gallery and journaled just from viewing what I had put up on the walls. But when I'm out there, I'm always actively journaling.